Let's go out to Paul Beyer. A great interview that he does. Very big fan of this of the Seahawks, and he brings it strong.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Legendary sports radio icon, the Warrior, and a show that's been filled with technical glitches. But I need to send it back out to Seattle to redo an interview that I did earlier this week on 12 for 12. Seattle Talk Radio out in Blog Talk. Paul Beyer, welcome inside the Warrior Report, and let's get right on this Seattle-San Francisco rivalry.
Oh boy, we got some stuff to talk about, my friend. This is the schedule just coming out today. Maybe it was better we did this today because we now know when our two teams will face one another. Cannot wait for Thanksgiving. Boy, it's going to be a big one down at Tight Jeans Stadium.
Well, you know what? It's an exciting time. Schedule out today. People living and dying by that schedule. I'm glad they didn't do it opening week. You guys open against Green Bay. In Seattle, so they return, cited the infamous no touchdown in the referee replacement game. Looking at the schedule today for the Seahawks, how excited are you about the schedule? In addition to that rivalry between San Francisco, what dates have the Seattle fans crossed off as a must-watch performance?
Well, I think I got to tell you, we got a really tough schedule. I mean, it's going to be extremely difficult for the Seahawks to get through this. At 13-3 again. I'll tell you what, here's the bottom line. The two things you're asking me what I don't like is the early bye week. Bye week number 4 for us, actually Denver's going to be the same. We open up with the Packers. We go down to San Diego. Obviously, they had a nice run at the end of the last season, and then Denver comes to our house for a rematch of the Super Bowl. That's a tough way to start, but since we're at home, it's not as frightening. I got to tell you that the early bye week is what really sucks because we've got 13 games after that, and 2 of them obviously are against the 49ers, 2 of them are against the Cardinals, 2 of them are against the much-improved Rams. We go on the road to the Panthers, and we go on the road to the Eagles. Other than that, I'm not too worried about it, but it's going to be a taunting task to get through it and remain an NFC West champion.
You know, some of the changes that this year with the NFL schedule is now the flex week can start in week 5. Mm-hmm. So you go week 5, you can start flexing games in week 5. How much of a difference is that going to make? I mean, who's strong at week 5 isn't always who's going to be strong at week 10.
You know, I'm okay with that. I think the real problem with the NFL and this TV flex deal that they have going is that they still only allow the top teams to only have 5 games on prime time. So I'm not sure about the 49ers, but I know the Seahawks right now are scheduled for 4. That does give us 1 extra game that they could add into that. I like the fact that the flex schedule does start week 5 because that's going to open it up a little bit for some of these more competitive teams, obviously the 49ers being one of them, the Seahawks being one of them. I think the rest of the NFC West, to be quite honest with you, is going to be tough. So I'm okay with it, other than I think that they should allow us to have more primetime games. Those are the games people want to watch. I mean, could you imagine the Niners and the Seahawks playing twice on prime time? Obviously, CBS and Fox would have a problem with it. But I mean, everyone and their mom's going to be watching those games besides you and I. So those are 2 big money games. We're only going to get one of them on Thanksgiving night, and that'll be that. So we'll have to live with it.
You know, you look at this rivalry between San Francisco and San Francisco and Seattle. Overall, it's been pretty close. But for a while, the games didn't mean anything. But last year, this rivalry can take a turn for the best and took a turn for the worst at the same time. What is it that drives this rivalry?
I think it starts with the coaches. We've discussed this prior, both you and I, and the fact is that you have two guys that played against one another quite a bit in the college ranks at USC and Stanford with Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh. So the fact is, I think those two guys being really polar opposites, but they build their teams very much the same way. A lot of identical schemes, a lot of similar type athletes, speed everywhere. Quarterbacks are similar, but yet not. But yet they really do things completely different. Jim Harbaugh being kind of that old school, very, very serious, holds his cards very close to his chest. Pete Carroll kind of being a gunslinger. He's out there high-fiving, smiling, chewing his gum. I know that gets on people's nerves, but up here we obviously have come to love it. And it's just the way they go about it. But other than that, you've got guys that I think there's still a lot of mutual respect. I know Patrick Willis is a class act down there with the Niners. He always talks about how they enjoy the competition. There's all this fluff between different players, obviously Crabtree and Richard Sherman being two of those guys this last season. But other than that, I mean, really these guys do respect one another. All that stuff's for the cameras. And I got to tell you, I, as a guy who loves football, loves NFL, I respect the 49ers. I think you guys are a great team. I obviously don't like you, but that doesn't mean I have to dislike the people. It's just a game at the end of the day.
We talked about that before. Derek Coleman, hearing impaired, deaf running back, a role model out of Seattle. And as much as you may dislike certain members of the Seahawks team or fraternity, let's talk a little bit about Derek Coleman and your quarterback Wilson, the amount of work that they do out in the community, which until recently hadn't even been publicized.
The Derek Coleman thing is really interesting because we knew about him. We obviously knew about his deaf issue, and the fact is he's never made it an issue. The story of that Duracell commercial, which really put him on the national forefront. Really told an unbelievable story, and everybody, I mean, no matter if you, like you said, didn't like the Seahawks or not, you can get behind this guy. And I'll tell you what, the guy is just what you see. He's the salt of the earth. Obviously, playing his college days at UCLA, no one always kind of gave him a chance, but he just continued to overcome the odds, and now he's playing in the NFL. And he should be the starting fullback with Michael Robinson, still not necessarily retired, but former 49er and current Seahawk Mike Robb, as you probably heard of the real Mike Robb report, we're not sure if he's going to be back. He's doing right now segments with NFL Network during their 3-hour little special here for the schedule. But getting to Russell Wilson, ESPN kind of brought it out in his rookie season. I think it was during that Green Bay Monday night game where they told the story of the fact that he visits the Children's Hospital every Tuesday like clockwork here in Seattle. And he doesn't. You're right. He never asked for anybody to follow him. He never told anybody about it. It's just something he did. And he's definitely changed some lives doing it. So the guy, he is what he is. You see what you see. Sometimes it comes across corny. You got to really question it. But I got to tell you, even all those cliches, Russell Wilson is what he is. He's a leader. He's an honorable person, and he is out there to compete at the highest level. And I got to tell you, the guy is just a true competitor. I love the guy wholeheartedly, and I'm fully on the Russell Wilson train.
You look at this team and this organization and where it came from, the quick change, the ability to see the Flynn experiment wasn't going to work, and then it didn't work in Oakland. It works a little bit in Green Bay, I guess you say. How hard was that for Pete Carroll to go with a rookie quarterback, a third-round pick, several quarterbacks drafted ahead of him? And how much does that fuel Russell Wilson? Does he point out the fact that he was drafted in the third round?
Well, it's a chip. I mean, I think it goes throughout the entire organization. Multiple players on this roster have a chip on their shoulder based on either where they were drafted or the lack of respect that they got while they were coming out of college. And we obviously know about that with Doug Baldwin and Richard Sherman and their kind of interactions with Jim Harbaugh. But I got to tell you, when you get back to Russell Wilson and that whole Flynn quarterback competition. I mean, Russell Wilson won the job. I remember watching those preseason games going, this guy's better. Russell Wilson, this guy, whoever this guy is, he's better than Flynn. And Flynn's not playing bad. It's just this guy brings more to the table. And like you said, was it hard on Pete Carroll? I can only imagine how hard it was. I mean, you're paying the guy millions of dollars. They gave him a big bonus to come in here with Matt Flynn, and he didn't win the job. But then what's unique about the Schneid, John Schneider, I call him the Schneid up here, and Pete Carroll, is that they fish and cut bait. I mean, if they're done with something, they're moving on, and they make that decision. They don't try to let it kind of build up and create issues. They let it go, no matter how good or bad that particular player or situation has gotten. And they made the determination Russell Wilson's the future. They went with him, and boy, it turned out pretty darn well.
How ironic is it with Terrell Pryor now picked up and Jackson still on the roster that Russell Wilson is the lowest paid quarterback on the Seahawks roster?
It's amazing, honestly. That's just, unfortunately, it's a byproduct of the NFL. I mean, there's nothing anyone can do about it. I know this much. Russell Wilson has gotten jobs with Microsoft, Vizio, you name it. He's now pitching everything. And being that, the old Paul Allen connection, a buddy of mine actually said this. He goes, what's to stop, Microsoft and just writing him a check for $10 million and calling it a day, call it, promotion work. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. These guys figure it out, okay? And it is what it is.
It's the same thing with Genesis back when the 49ers were trying to sign Deion Sanders when he was a free agent leaving Atlanta, chance to choose between any. Eventually, he did end up with the Cowboys the following year, but Sega was going to give him $1 million to have a video game.
Yeah, it's just what happens. Who knows? But the bottom line is it is part of the system, and it is amazing. He's getting paid the third lowest of these three guys. But, this Terrell Pryor thing, I know some guys in our area are just kind of like, I don't know what we're doing with that. But, I look at it this way. You're bringing in a guy who's actually similar in age to Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson's a little older because of his baseball college experience, and Terrell Pryor came out in that 2011 draft. And they're similar in what they bring to the table, but obviously it's kind of like Terrell Pryor is very similar in size, body, and attributes to a Colin Kaepernick. And I think, one, it brings a guy, if he can make the roster and learn to compete in this quarterback group, he can be a great scout quarterback for 49er week. That's one thing. The second thing is that if he can learn and really grow inside that quarterback room, he's not going to become the starting quarterback. That's a fact, people. But if he can learn and overcome the group that's there with Tavares Jackson and Russell Wilson, I think it's down the road, and some people have disagreed with my thought here, but I think he might be someone that could be traded down the road for a better pick, higher than obviously a seventh rounder. The guy has got major skills. I mean, you're talking about a guy who ran a 4.4 40. Some even clocked it lower than that. He's 6'4". I mean, it's very much like a Colin Kaepernick. He's got a hand cannon, but he hasn't learned to become a quarterback quite yet. He has worked with Tom House, who you might have heard of in the past. He's done a lot of work with some of these running quarterbacks that have kind of tried to learn the pro set, the pro game, and he's done that. He's put the time in these last two seasons. I thought he actually looked better last year. I thought he was going to be the future for Oakland. But obviously they thought not to go with someone like Matt Schaub. So I'm okay with it. I think it's going to be great for the competition model we run up here in Seattle, and we'll just have to wait and see how it all pans out. But I think it's going to be a positive at the end of the day.
Paul Meyer with the 12 for 12 Seattle Report. Also, Double OT Radio, part of Blog Talk Radio, joining us in the Terry Peranich listener line. You mentioned Tom House, and just to show you my diversity, former pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, caught Henry Aaron's 714th home run ball against Al Downing. Obviously, he didn't make any money on it, but one of those strange cats who coached, he's coaching knuckleballers with the Rangers and Nolan Ryan at the same time. So he's done a great job. A lot of quarterbacks and pitchers have learned and trained him, and it can only help Terrell Pryor. Hey, let's look at something, though, that kind of raises my air a little bit, and it kind of sends a flag up. You still got to play Russell Wilson, Yet reports today say that Richard Sherman is days away, or moments away perhaps, from signing the largest contract, not only in the history of the Seahawks, but to be the highest paid cornerback in the history of the NFL.
I think deservedly so. I mean, the guy's put the work in. He showed it on the field. And the fact is, if our ownership and our personnel group and GM John Schneider feel like they can fit that contract and arrange it into the overall plan for this team going forward, obviously we've got some big contracts and big players to re-sign, with Russell Wilson and Earl Thomas being two of them. There's others, trust me. Bobby Wagner, our middle linebacker, same kind of situation. It's going to be interesting, but I truly believe in these guys. I believe that, hey, they haven't proven me wrong yet. They've made a lot of really good decisions, and they have a plan. I know that. And so if they're getting ready to sign him, and I'll be honest with you, I thought it would have been Earl Thomas before Richard Sherman, and then they would have looked at that franchise tag as a bailout if need be on Richard Sherman. But obviously they've got something good going here, and we'll see what happens. The numbers they've talked about, somewhere in the $13 million range per year. But when you look at the numbers and how it all breaks down against the cap, they can do some pretty crazy things to massage it in so it works. I'll leave it in their hands. I'm excited about it. It feels good to know that Richard Sherman's going to be back on this team.
It's nice to see that after a while we've had this discussion before. Being from the Seattle area, it's been so long. The Sonics won 79, I guess 80 time frame. Then a long time, no championships. Now, finally, this franchise is rewarded through its hard work with the ring and the fans that finally pays. So we'll talk about that relationship a little bit between the Seattle fans and the players itself. You don't think of Seattle as being a rowdy community, but no team supports its football team like the 12th man up in Seattle does.
And again, you're right. Not to take away from anybody else, fans around the country. I think I mentioned to you prior in our talk that I actually grew up in Oklahoma. I moved here in 6th grade, and I was, in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma Sooners is all you got there. I mean, and everyone lives and dies by it. So when I moved here, I had to kind of learn and try to grasp onto why was this my team, and why would I want to get behind them. It helped that Brian Bosworth. I know a lot of people think he's horrible when it comes to the NFL, but he was one of my heroes from Oklahoma, and to see him signed, it made it easier. But then I saw how the fans were. They really, and it's been the same since 2000. Geez, what time? When was that? 1986. But every
86, I still see the shirts that say Boz sucks, and then later come to find out it was Boz 44 Marketing Company.
Yes.
His own apparel company was putting out all these T-shirts and selling them, so the fans were actually lining his pockets.
Yes.
Here's a man who made $11 million to play 3 games, didn't even have to pay insurance on it because he paid his own insurance claim.
He was a brilliant businessman, actually a great student, believe it or not, at the University of Oklahoma. I mean, the way the 12s are in this community and how they interact with the team, it's really unique because everybody, we live and die. We feel like we're a part of the team. I mean, when you go to that stadium on Sundays, the Clink, everybody truly feels like they're making an impact on the game. That's obviously why it's so loud. And the players, I mean, they believe they're part of it too. And so it's just this weird synergy that actually you feel it. And I always say this to people that are like, what's it like up there? I say, come to a game, experience it. I mean, this isn't Philadelphia. This isn't Pittsburgh where people are throwing batteries at one another, okay? This is something where, and I'll be honest with you, I know some people have said there's been a story or two where something's got out of hand, but I've been in that stadium so many times I can't count, and I've never seen anything negative happen with fans from other teams. It's always very cordial. It's very civil. Obviously, there's a lot of noise, but I've had some great discussions with other fans from other teams that have gone in there and tried to get a W, which obviously they haven't. So it's been it's just a really cool thing. And boy, I'll tell you, even after that team procession to the stadium when we had our championship parade, what was so unique about that was they all thought it was like 20 degrees. It was freezing cold that day. Beautiful, beautiful sun in the sky, but it was freezing cold, and they were like, well, we're only going to have a couple 100,000 people. It turned out to have over 700,000. They thought maybe close to 1 million. And it was just amazing, the scenes and the pictures of that day and the people lining the streets. And obviously we're not as big a town as San Francisco, Oakland area, but it was awesome. And it's truly, everybody feels like they're part of it. I think that's what's so real.
Probably a lot of secondary highs out there, eh?
Say that again?
Probably a lot of secondary highs.
Secondary highs. What am I missing?
Well, being the fact that, you put it together. 2 teams in the Super Bowl, 2 states.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I don't know about that. I don't partake, my friend, but I got to tell you that that was kind of an interesting little, 420, call it, I guess, topic or subject they tried to put around the Super Bowl.
It is simply amazing. Look, let me tell you one of the things that Seattle could have done, which would have tore the Bay Area up. At one time, it was rumored prior to the game that Tim Lincecum was going to raise the banner in the 12th man flag. Do you know how much of a stink that would have caused in the Bay Area?
I can only imagine. And that kid likes the weed, by the way, FYI.
That's what we've heard a lot of times. I thought it was just overzealous cops that had planted it on him. But let's look at something. We talk about the marijuana, and it's fun to joke about, but let's talk about the Adderall situation. The fact that it may be legal in Seattle, but it's still illegal in the NFL. Has there been a problem? And I know you guys have stepped away from the Adderall usage, but has there been a problem? Is there directives that come out from the team that say, hey, it's still illegal in the NFL?
Well, I think talk about the Seattle situation that you're reminiscing about. What happened and how it was addressed was as soon as obviously it came out, people were getting tested, and obviously it was coming out that first of all, what happened was the elder statesmen of this team and some of the young leaders immediately called team meetings and player-only meetings and really handled it. I mean, that Adderall thing went away rather quickly. Obviously, people talked about it, but there hasn't been any issues of that other than the Bruce Irvin thing early last season. And, he paid the price for it. And one thing is he addressed it. He said, hey, I'm an idiot. I did this. And when it comes to, like you said, the weed and legalization aspects, look, the fact is the NFL has a rule that you can't do something. And guess what? You shouldn't do it. And that's on those guys. I think it's not a surprise that neither of those 2 guys are still here in Seattle. Brandon Browner, as much as I love the guy, and Walter Thurman. I mean, you're talking about Pro Bowler and Brandon Browner. He's now with the Patriots, and Walter Thurman, who's now saying that the Giants' secondary could be the best in the NFL. I think that's maybe stretching it a little much, but both are very, very talented and different body styles, but very talented. And you know what? They made errors, and guess what? They're no longer here in Seattle. I think that just goes to how Pete Carroll kind of says, I'll give you a chance, but if you mess up after that, you're gonzo.
Now, how much of this rivalry between San Francisco is media-driven, and how much do the players actually dislike each other?
I'll be honest with you. I think every part of the relationship between the cities, the teams, the players, the fans, I think we all drive it. But ironically, I think the smallest part of the conversation that maybe is diametrically opposed is the players. I think there's much more respect between the players than we maybe talk about. Obviously, there's some we've discussed even earlier in this interview that have maybe some issues lingering. But overall, I think the players, it's just business for them, and they know it's a big game because both teams are extremely talented. The fans, obviously, there's the hatred of the teams that goes back and forth. But there's still respect in most cases, I would say. The coaches, we talked about that. But then the NFL and TV, I mean, obviously this is a absolute just bag of money for them. I mean, look at the fact that they know that they are going to make tons and tons of money because everybody and their mom wants to watch us play each other because the games are so good. Obviously, there's been a couple of blowouts, but those are outliers as far as I'm concerned. That doesn't take away from the talent level of both these teams. And I think last year and how those competitions went, really the last 2 games, both down in Old Candlestick and up here at the Clink in the playoffs. I mean, those were just epic ball games. And as you said before, I mean, the Super Bowl was that NFC Championship, and it went down to the wire. So it's just, again, great teams, great players, great fans, passionate about what they are and what they're doing. I can't wait to play you guys in Thanksgiving. It's going to be a fun one.
Well, we can't wait to be served up. I'm already getting my early votes in for the five-legged turkey. But hey, Paul, before I let you go ahead and let the fans know how they can follow you, what time they can hear you, how they can follow you on Twitter. And before we let you go, I just wanted to thank you very much for retaking time out of your busy schedule to give us 20, 25 minutes here so we could talk a little bit about the Seahawks, that rivalry, where it stands from. Thanks again for appearing inside the Warrior Report. Now let's get that Twitter handle and that website.
You bet. First of all, everybody, you can find me on Twitter at PBizzle. That's PBIZZEL. At PBizzle on Twitter, and my website and my radio show, it's the same. It's 12 for 12s. That's 12FOR12S.com is the website, and you can find me on Blog Talk Radio. Also, 12 for 12s and the OOT Radio, which is part of what I'm involved with. I do shows with them Monday and Wednesday, OOT Radio, 7 to 9 Pacific. My 12 for 12 show is on Tuesdays from 7 to 8:30. It's 12 topics just for the 12th man. Obviously, you guys are 49er fans, so I'm not assuming you're going to be tuning in since it's all about the Seahawks. But what I will say is that I definitely tell you the true story about what's going on up here. If you want to know about it and get a lot of insight, you definitely tune in. You can find all our information and stuff on my website, 12for12s.com, but also you can download and archive any of my podcasts on iTunes as well as TuneIn Radio for iOS or Android. So check that out, and hey, go Hawks.
Before I let you go, I'm going to leave you with this. When you get back and you see the people in Seattle, I may be cordial to you because I'm a professional, but as soon as this interview is over, I hate the Seahawks. I hate the city of Seattle. I can't wait till Thanksgiving Day when that Vince Lombardi trophy will stay there, I guess, into the Super Bowl. But I can't wait to get what belongs to us. I don't want to say back because it's been almost 20 years, but that trophy is going to be in San Francisco sooner or later.
We'll see, my friend.
Take care. Enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you later down the road.
All right. Take care. Go Hawks.
Seahawks, we got your back. Yeah, Seahawks, we got that swag. Yeah, defense, go get that sack. And we will be screaming so loud my ears are ringing. Opponents are for starting. Like flies, they will be dropping. Now throw it, Russell Wilson. A punt return by Golden. Amazing catch by Baldwin. Another pick by Sherman. We are the 12th man. We are the loudest fans. Seahawks, we got your back, yeah. Seahawks, we got that swag, yeah. They call him Beast Mode, powered by Skittles. You got no shot, there he goes. And now he's in the end zone. Boy, what were you thinking? You must be dreaming. Seahawks unleash the demon. You can't throw at the Legion. It is our destiny to win the Lombardi. Seattle's gonna party. All we got, all we need. 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 All we got, all we need.